Yeah, I got these LED lamps. I'm going to stick them on the front of the Jeep and have a switch with works off the parking lights only. So if the parking lights are on, headlights don't need to be on. I could flip these on. They're fog lights. They're only 18 bucks, $19 the whole kit with the bracket. They draw like 1.6 amps and they're pretty bright. I think it's actually 1.5 amps. So I have this hooked up to the negative on the battery. That's how you can tell like how much something's drawing. So let's put just one on. It's really about 1.5 amps actually, maybe. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. See, considering your headlights draw about 10 amps, these LED lights are only drawing about 15% of your headlights, and they're pretty bright. They're pretty bright. You can see them up there. See, that's all dark. I mean, it's dark out, you know. You can see it's all lighting up way out there. And the reason I'm doing that, if you look at that Jeep, it's so narrow that the headlights, when you're looking at night, I think people are trying to, sometimes they try to just give you enough room to cut in front of you. Well, they're misjudging me at night because, you know, they're doing something stupid anyway. But with the narrow lights like that, they're thinking I'm farther away. So what I'm going to do is put them on a bumper as far out as possible, not where they're sticking out from the edge of the bumper, but it'll make it look like the Jeep is a little wider. So if I run those along with the parking lights are more towards the inside, it'll look like it's a little wider vehicle. So that may help them, the idiots that are pulling out in front of me at night. It doesn't happen to me too often, but every once in a while, man, I'll be like, I have to lock up my brakes because they probably think that Jeep, since it's so narrow, it's maybe another 100 feet back when they're pulling out in front of me, and they're thinking I got just enough room, and they don't. So I'm doing it as a safety feature, but these could probably be pretty good for fog too, even though they're white. Pretty bright, shouldn't burn out, and very low amperage. As you can see, that's one light at two of them together is about 1.5 amps. That's a low draw. So the other thing is too, probably just going to have them so they hooked up to the parking lights. But you know, if you left these on, you know, these would make some pretty great backup lights too, especially on a separate switch. Because you know, sometimes you're trying to back up and you got to load, say like you're in this El Camino here or something. You're trying to see what's behind you. You can't see what the hell's behind you. You put these up on the roof. Say it's a truck or something. You flip that switch on. Instead of having puny little lights in the back, you can have some serious backup lights. They could be really great for some really great backup lights. And if you have them on a switch where it's maybe just with the key and it's not hooked up to any of the outside lights or not conditioned with the parking lights, 1.5, and say you even had a switch for each one, say three-quarter amp draw, and shit, you could run that 10 hours and you have no problem starting your car up because it's such a minor thing. 3/4, like I say, you just had one of them running. 3/4 of an amp. Your headlights are 10 amps. Sometimes you can leave your headlights on for like an hour and you'll still start your car up. If you had 3/4 of an amp on just one of those lights, you can, if you got a good battery, you can run it for 10 hours and you'll be able to start your car. So pretty handy setup, man. The LEDs are pretty damn good, I tell you the truth. So I'll be installing these puppies. Well, you can see they're installed, and it's hard to tell on the camera probably, but see how the lights are? They're kind of dim, and those are bright. I don't know what the hell to say. I don't know if I can put these out. Well, they're wider. They're wider. Probably tell a little bit that the headlights are more narrow, and this pretty much tells you that, you know, hey, I'm coming down the road, and it looks like a full-size width of a car. Let me turn this. I don't have the switch on it. The what do you call it? The switch that turns them off and on yet. It should be. They're only hooked up. Excuse me. They're only hooked up to the parking lights. And you can see they're plenty bright. I mean, shit. I mean, I guess in the camera they look even more bright. It's kind of hard to tell. But they're wider. And they only take, like you saw, like 1.6 amps for both of them. All those lights. There's like an array on the bottom. And how I installed them is I used a direct positive to where the parking lights are, and then I ran a ground back to where the switch is going to be. So the only thing I gotta do is install a single pole switch with an LED light on the bottom so I can shut them off when the parking lights are on. But they only come on with the parking lights. And I use the what do you call those things, the butt connectors. But the way I use those butt connectors, you probably got enough light to see over here. I use these butt connectors, but what I did was I used super weather strip adhesive over them so they're waterproofed, wrapped them up with Munster tape, then I used a tie over the Munster tape to cinch it down tight. So basically there's a glue on there with a tape with so it's waterproof. The butt connectors are totally waterproof, and if the wire that's the ground ever like rub through and touch something, the worst that can actually happen is the lights can come on when the parking light's on and the switch is off. But I don't think I really have a problem with that because I use a pretty thick wire, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it as far as, you know, that's the ground wire for the fog lights, but it's a lot wider, so it's kind of hard to tell maybe in the camera, but yeah, you can see here's my headlight, and here's the bright light over here. So it's, you got, you know, about 4 or 5 inches. So it looks like you got a lot more light coming down the road, but you know, it looks like the car's wide enough. So if they look at it, they'll say, hey, you know, this car's coming closer to me at nighttime. So I got a manual choke so you can hear this thing idle it up. But they're easy to install, and they should be in there good. They're in there really solid. You can adjust them up and down. They got a little Allen wrench on the side here. They're in there solid as all hell though. And they're up on top of the bumper where nothing can hit them, but they're pretty low. So they should be low enough to hit down here, or, you know, say you're using it for fog or something. I think they would work pretty good. But man, they'd be some hell of a backup light, that's for sure. So, and I think they're at $18.99, free delivery on eBay or something. You know, I'm not selling them, but good idea, cheap enough.